Are vampires evil parasites? Written and performed by Tony Capobianco. Since I, Thomas Wolfgang, came out as a vampire, the followers of this podcast have asked a lot of questions. I'll address the two most frequently asked questions by the audience. The most popular question was, are vampires evil? The second most popular question is the one that I'm going to respond to first. Are vampires parasites? The short answer is yes. Vampires do seem to be parasites. We do drink the blood of other species, including the blood of humans, in order to sustain our immortal undead life. Before I more fully address this question, please permit me to ask you a question. When I just said the word parasite, what came to mind? Did you visualize anything? If so, what was it that you saw? Which words popped into your head? I suspect that your answers will echo my sentiments on this. As a new vampire, my mortal way of thinking is still very accessible to me. Only a few months ago, I was a mortal man. As a mortal man, I perceived parasites to be creatures that were inferior. More than that, the mere mention of the word parasite held a very negative connotation for me. I associated that term with words like bad, slimy, invader, unnatural, disgusting, repulsive, and dangerous. Images of creatures such as leeches and tapeworms slithered into my mind's eye when the name parasite was uttered. Although my reaction to the word parasite was probably a pretty universal one, was it justified? What is it about parasites that evokes such a visceral response in humans? When I say the word predator, what comes to mind? What words and images arose upon hearing that term? For me, hearing the name predator makes me think of carnivorous dinosaurs, lions, tigers, bears, wolves, sharks, and humans. It's a name that I associate with the natural order of the world. Words like strength, speed, and evolution come to mind. Predators fascinate me and inspire me to want to learn more about them. I admire their beauty and deadly power. Isn't it strange how two creatures, parasites and predators, stimulate such varying responses? Both types of organisms can be deadly to humans. Therefore, the repulsion of parasites cannot be solely explained by the threat of danger. Something else has to be at play here. Could the human attraction towards predators and repulsion of parasites be attributed to a more ancient psychological tendency? We are often attracted to that which is similar to us. Contrariwise, we are often repulsed by that which is different from us. Humans, being apex predators, share much in common with other predators. When people look upon a lion as it stalks and kills its prey, they may be seeing a part of themselves in the big majestic cat. When a person calls a vampire a parasite, negative connotations abound. Sometimes, people call vampires predators. Interestingly, when the latter term is used, a fascination rather than disgust generally ensues. Are vampires predators, or are they parasites? The answer is yes. Vampires can play the role of either a parasite or a predator. For your self-preservation, you had better pray that any vampire you encounter is playing the role of parasite when you cross its path. For if the vampire played the role of the predator, then you would become the hunted game. A vampire can live off of human blood without killing the person. The idea of being a host for a blood-drinking vampire may make you recoil in disgust. Perhaps the thought of an undead immortal sinking their teeth into your throat and lapping up your blood causes your skin to crawl. If that is the case, remember this. We vampires have the ability to choose. We could choose to be the predator, kill the mortal, and drain him of all his blood. Or we could choose to be the parasite and take a safe amount that won't harm the person. In fact, I argue that vampires can, and indeed have, formed a mutualistic, symbiotic relationship with their human donors. How can this be? Everyone knows that the vampire needs blood in order to sustain itself, but did you know that humans receive a benefit from the vampire? It's a fact that the bite of a vampire increases a human's immunity for a period of time. After being fed upon by a vampire, the person's immune system becomes so strong that it temporarily becomes immune to all viruses. A pandemic could be raging all around you, but if you recently allowed a vampire to feed from you, then you would be protected from the deadly disease. Think about that. Think about being impervious to Ebola, Marburg virus, hantavirus, Lassa virus, Junin virus, Machupo virus, dengue fever, bird flu, and bubonic plague. Does such a relationship between vampire and human seem negative? Would you want to receive the immunity that a vampire bite imparts upon its host? Now, let me ask you this. Can you mortals make the same choice with your prey? Can you eat some of a pig or a cow without killing the animal? How gruesome would it be if you sliced parts of a cow off without killing it? You cannot feed upon your prey items without causing them grave harm or death. Humankind, when it consumes flesh meat, must take the life of the creature. No matter how much you might care for an animal, if you desire its flesh, then you must kill it in order to eat it. A mutualistic symbiotic relationship is impossible in such a circumstance. I do not say these things in judgment of your race. My intention is only to open your mind. After all, I was human until recently. It is my hope that you might come to see vampires, not as something repulsive, but as a race that is not so very different than yours. Perhaps a greater understanding of the vampire race will lead humans to jettison old stereotypes and prejudices. Hopefully, you'll come to see that vampires don't have to be seen as scary, evil others. I believe that this brings us to the next question. Are vampires evil? As is the case with most things in this mysterious universe, the answer to this question is complex. Nuance is needed in order to gain an appreciable understanding. For starters, let's take a look at the word vampires. There is more than one kind of vampire. To my knowledge, there are in fact two species of vampires. The Dracunin are one race of vampires. The other race are the Illumidarko. The Dracunin vampires are evil. There are no shades of gray in their wickedness. While it is true that there are considerable differences between the two vampire races, I will not get into those differences this evening. Tonight, in this episode of Podcast with the Vampire, I will answer your questions as they relate to the Illumidarko vampires, because that is the race to which I belong. I am an Illumidarko vampire, and we are not inherently good or evil. Vampires, as is the case with mortals, are often a mixed bag of good, evil, beauty, and ugliness. Much like you humans, we have free will, and it is how we wield our free will that will determine whether or not we are evil. Sentient beings are defined by what they believe and by what they do or fail to do. If some humans have committed murder, does that mean that all humans are murderers? If a portion of the human race is evil, Does that make all of humanity evil? Should not the same standard be applied to your assessment of vampires? We, who have been baptized into darkness, are capable of great goodness. Throughout the millennia, many children of the night have not only been virtuous, but have taught mortals how to be more virtuous. Eternal life provides our race with an opportunity to accumulate knowledge and wisdom to a degree that mortals can only dream of. Vampires have dwelt among you since the earliest days of your race. Both species, humans and vampires, have a tremendous potential. This potential, depending on our choices, can culminate in a great and wonderful goodness, or a great and terrible evil. The realization of our potential depends on you and me. There is real evil, which lurks in the shadows, as well as in bright spotlights. Even now, as you're listening to me, a powerful evil is gaining strength. It is an ancient evil that seeks to dominate and destroy. The growing threat will annihilate your race as well as my own, if we do not face it down together. The ancient evil of which I speak sows division, breaks trust, causes confusion, manufactures chaos, plants seeds of hatred, and breeds death and violence. This evil army has servants who serve it both knowingly and unknowingly. It's a formidable force that is comprised of humans and vampires. The sinister army is silently growing, and it seeks to overthrow the world as you know it. It seeks to rule over us all. It yearns to bind us in fear and despair. This ferocious force desires to consume us. It intends to blind us with a great light that was first offered as a brilliant gift. The ancient evil is determined to refashion this world in its own image. This evil isn't merely a metaphor. It's a being that is unlike any being that you have ever known. This ancient evil will try to persuade you that all vampires are evil. It will seduce you into a frenzy of hate. It cunningly will use lies to twist the truth. Fear and hate will be the unholy food that it will serve you in an all-you-can-eat buffet. You will be told that vampires are parasites, that we are unnatural, disgusting, conniving, bloodthirsty beasts that have secretly pulled the strings of human history. The diabolical being will strive to convince you that we vampires are responsible for all your misfortune and suffering. The pandemic, war, poverty, and various sufferings will be blamed on us. The ancient evil wants you to hate us, and it will cunningly persuade you to try to destroy us. If I've only been a vampire for less than a year, how is it that I could know such things? Why should you trust me? Aren't vampires nothing more than superstitious myth? If you asked yourself those questions, I applaud you. Critical thinking is a skill that is most advantageous. If you believe that vampires are myths, then I must point out that myths don't talk to you, and yet here I am. As for whether or not I'm trustworthy, think about this. I have taken a real risk by coming forward and publicly confessing that I am a vampire. There is a possibility that you won't believe me. You might laugh at me, or think that I'm mad, or a fraud. It's also quite possible that you might persecute me and seek to destroy me. Yet, I'm taking the risk because I think that doing so is worth it. I am taking the first step on a road that I hope leads to friendship. I have chosen to make myself vulnerable by trusting that your better angels will prevail. In my choosing to trust you, I hope that you will choose to trust me. The reason that I know what I now know about these hidden things is because of my sire. Athena is the vampire that made me into the glorious vampire that you are listening to right now. Athena is an ancient and powerful vampire. She is the queen of the Darko. Thousands of years old, she has accumulated tremendous wisdom and strength. She has fought this sinister being before, and she has defended the human race in the past. Athena has made me what I now am, and has taught me what I now know for a purpose. She has chosen me to walk beside her, and she wants me to warn you of the coming storm. Athena has walked the earth for thousands of years. She has watched humanity wrestle with the natural world as well as with its own nature. Civilizations and empires rose and fell as she watched. She has dwelt amongst humankind in periods of war and peace. She respects and loves humanity. It is her belief that we can avoid a horrific apocalyptic catastrophe if we become friends and allies. The end of days can be avoided if we get to know each other, build trust, and choose to work together. The importance of the question, "Are vampires evil?" should now be evident. Vampires are not evil by nature any more than humans are evil by nature. This question is one of crucial significance. The future of humans and vampires depends upon a real understanding of each other. If we fail to communicate with one another, if we fail to listen to each other, if we choose to live in impenetrable bubbles of misinformation, we will be dominated. The possibility of the extinction of one or both of our races cannot be excluded. The choice is yours. I hope that you enjoyed this episode, and I hope that I have succeeded in giving you food for thought. What are your thoughts? What do you think of vampires now? Has your opinion of them changed? If so, please tell me how they have changed. Leave your comments, because Athena and I look forward to hearing from you and getting to know you. Feel free to leave questions that you'd like me to answer in the future. The more likes and comments that this video receives ensures that more people will see this video. Share this video and fight the evil apocalypse. Together, we will win. I hope that you enjoyed your stay here at the Haunted Half Moon Inn. The Master requests that you consider supporting me and the inn by becoming a slave. A patron of mine on Patreon. The Half Moon Inn needs your support to keep the doors open. You wouldn't want the residents here to feel forgotten and abandoned, would you? Creating quality scary stories to share with you is very important to me. Running this inn of horror is a passion of mine, and I would truly appreciate your support. The world is hurting. It needs more horror. Help me to heal the world through horror. Together, with your help, we could haunt this world one home at a time. Until next time, always remember, Just because you don't see them doesn't mean that they aren't there.